Well, holy shit. The New York Knicks completed the Villanova Infinity Gauntlet. They traded for Mikal Birdges. They gave up a fuck ton, a literal fuck ton of draft assets to get Mikal Birdges. First trade between the Knicks and the Nets in 50 years. And it's good that we're going to talk about a trade today that to me actually makes sense, considering my last video there has been some cantankerous disagreement with how I felt about that trade. But this trade, oh boy, it's interesting on just a number of levels. There's a whole bunch of other stuff that's happened too since then, since Woj tweeted that Mikal Birdges is going to the New York Knicks, like the Brooklyn Nets getting their 2025 first round pick back from the Rockets and another trade. It just looks like the Nets are going into a full rebuild, and they're doing so by putting their name in the hat for the Cooper Flag sweepstakes. But let's talk about the Knicks. The Knicks are close to contending. They obviously wore down as the playoffs went on, but getting Mikal Birdges is such an unexpected and savvy move by the Knicks, and I love this trade for the Knicks, even though the amount of draft capital they gave up, I feel a little queasy about, I am not going to lie. But when you're this close to contending, and Jalen Brunson's annual salary per year is cheap, Josh Hart's contract cheap, Dante DiVincenzo's contract cheap, and you can get Mikal Birdges on your team, who also has a cheap contract, this was a no-brainer for the Knicks, in my opinion. And now, it'll be interesting to see what they make shake to get OG back in the fold, because obviously he's going to be an unrestricted free agent once he declines his player option. And the first obvious dot we gotta connect is that they can probably trade Julius Randle and Mitchell Robinson to, one, not only retain OG Anunoby, but also retain Isaiah Hartenstein, who was a crucial and critical part of the Knicks defense and the Knicks offense because of his passing and his ability to be a hub. But my God, they got one of the most durable players in the NBA, a guy who in Brooklyn stretched his wings out a little bit to see if he could be the number one option, obviously overtaxed in that role, but this will provide Mikal Birdges a nice in-between as the improved scorer and offensive player that he is now versus what he was in Phoenix, which was basically a 3-and-D guy. And the Knicks have a nice roster to give Mikal Birdges that happy medium. Plus the chemistry on that team. You obviously give Mikal Birdges, who is great friends with Hart, Brunson, DiVincenzo, all won that championship together with Villanova. And they obviously trust each other, know how each one operates on the court together. This was just an insanely nice move by the Knicks. Again, the draft capital, the price was a little bit steep on that one, but the Knicks are this close to contending for a title, and this trade also screams to me that they think they are not that far off from the Boston Celtics, which I do disagree with, but it's not like I think the Knicks front office is insane for thinking that. And by the way, the Knicks have been one of the best ran front offices in the NBA for more than a handful of seasons now, which is wild times that we're in. If they are able to retain OG Anunoby, I wonder what this starting lineup is going to be, because you have Brunson, you have DiVincenzo, you have Hart, you have Mikal Birdges, Anunoby. I forgot to mention that the Knicks did trade Bojan Bogdanovic to match salary with Birdges, but Tom Thibodeau wasn't really using Bogdanovic that much after the Knicks traded for him at the trade deadline. The Knicks, though, stacking their roster, completing the Villanova Infinity Stones. Their defense is going to be incredible, especially on the perimeter. And Birdges has been one of the most durable players in the NBA. I don't think he's missed a game in his career. There was also that season when he got traded to the Brooklyn Nets. He actually played 83 games. So Tom Thibodeau is going to have some fun with that, playing him a bunch of minutes. But someone who's averaging 24.5, nearly 4 assists a game, shooting 37% from 3 on very tough attempts, by the way, because Mikal Birdges did turn himself into a very good three-point shooter after coming into his rookie year with the Suns with a altered jump shot, which scared me because that's when the Sixers drafted him at the time too, before they ended up trading him to the Suns. And I remember just freaking out about that because I loved Bridges in the draft, but he's back to being the elite shooter that he is off movement and all that stuff, and he's added just a scoring bag. And he was able to spread his wings a little bit. And now the Knicks just have a very, very, very good two-way player to add on to a team that already has a litany of good two-way players. Plus, it sounded like, if this report from Ian Begley, who has good sources, is accurate, that Mikal Birdges basically pushed to go to the Knicks and used that leverage of threatening to sign with them in unrestricted free agency. So that part was also interesting. As far as the Nets go, they're clearly going in a full rebuild. It was good on them to get that 2025 pick back, their own pick back from the Houston Rockets for that Suns 2027 first-round pick. I guess the Rockets are going to try to amass a bunch of picks to trade for Kevin Durant, which is also a whole other separate story, but not for this video to discuss. But the Nets are just going in full rebuild mode for not only the Cooper Flag sweepstakes, but also unrestricted free agency next summer when they have a bunch of cap space, because Ben Simmons' giant $40 million contract, $40 million annual salary will be off the books. What are they going to do with Cam Johnson? What are they going to do with their two other effective role players, Dorian Finney-Smith and Royce O'Neal? So that means the Nets just have a bunch of ways now to amass more draft capital. They could trade Ben Simmons' expiring salary to take on more unwanted salary, or take on draft assets to take on more bad salary. The Nets are just hitting the full rebuild button. Don't really blame them, because they were going to be on the rudderless ship of mediocrity again, and this was the right move for them to take rebuilding wise. But as far as the Knicks go, man, they're gonna be so good and absolutely fucking annoying to play against once again.